Okay, so welcome to an extra episode. If you haven't been following my previous videos, the goal of this demon hunter is to do well in Act 3 on a 5 million gold budget. So far we've used 4 million gold to gear our demon hunter, and just to prove that I haven't been cheating in buying extra gear, I'm gonna quickly hover over my gears just to show you guys that these are the same gears that I had as before. And in this video we're going to kill Ghom, and we're going to go over the skills and strategies that you need to kill Ghom. I'm sure there's many ways of doing it, especially with a DPS like 41.5, but it's certainly doable. It's definitely doable. So that's my goal to show you guys right now. One thing that you have to change is your skills. In part 2 I described this skill set, which is very practical for elites, but it's not that practical for Ghom because as many of you already know, that he fills up that his chamber with poison gas like instantly. It takes like a minute or so. So you have about a minute and a half to kill him, and for that you need burst damage, right? And that's good for Demon Hunter because fortunately they have really good burst damage. So let's start changing up our skills for Ghom. So first of all, I used Entangling Shot before with Chain Gang rune, but right now we really need damage, right? So for this reason we're going with Hungering Arrow, right? So which rune do we need for Hungering Arrow? Well, typically I prefer this one because you have a 35% chance to pierce, and the extra pierce would do 70% damage. However, because of those little slime balls that Ghom hurls at you, I prefer this puncturing arrow because it's more AoE-ish, if you know what I mean, because it has a 50% chance to hit them both. So it's much better. If it doesn't hit them both, it hits one of them twice. I don't want to get owned by random number generation with this 35%, so I prefer to stick with this 50% puncturing arrow for Hungering Arrow. And again, we don't use Entangling Shot because it just doesn't do enough damage. We need DPS to kill Ghom. So that's our primary. Our secondary is going to be Cluster Shot. So we use Elemental Arrow for slows. It's practical for elites as well as for regular mobs. But for Ghom we need burst damage, right? And when we think of burst damage, the first thing comes to mind is Cluster Arrow. So we're going to use Cluster Arrow, and the main rune that we're going to use is Cluster Bombs. And the reason why we're going to use cluster bombs is, let me just show you a demonstration. So if you fire a 1, you see all of these little bombs. Well, Ghom is pretty fat, right? So all of these little bombs are going to be hitting Ghom. So that means we're getting about 6 shots on Ghom, and 6 shots is a lot just from one skill. So we can fire 2 of these, and 3 if we use a couple of primary Hungering Arrow shots. So the idea is this: we have our bat on for hatred regeneration, and we shoot 2 clusters, 2 Hungering Arrows, and then another cluster again. So we get 3 clusters off with 1 mana bar of hatred. Because the goal here is to spam clusters and do as much damage as possible, we don't want this skill set anymore. Unfortunately, you're gonna have to lose your 5 stacks. I feel bad about that, but we're just gonna have to deal with it because some people need to clear Ghom, and this is clearly the easiest way. Well, the easiest way that I know of. I came up with this yesterday. So instead of Shadow Power, we're going to switch it up for Marked for Death, and we're going to use the Mortal Enemy rune. And the reason for this is because Mark for Death gives us 12% damage, and Mortal Enemy gives us Hatred regeneration, right? So with Hatred regeneration, you're able to restore your Hatred for cluster bombs better. So even your Hungering Arrows, instead of giving you 3 Hatred, they give you 6. Yep, 6. Plus the Bat will give you 3 per second. So that's a lot of Hatred regeneration, so that's why we're using this skill. Bat is going to stay the same. We need the Bat for Hatred regeneration. That's pretty self-explanatory. It's there's not much to say there. Preparation. This is actually a different strategy from what we're used to, but instead of using this rune that restores all discipline, we're going to switch it up and we're going to use this rune. And this rune restores all hatred for 25 discipline, right? And it has no cooldown. So we're sitting at 46 discipline, which means that we can cast this 2 times, assuming we don't use smokescreen. So if we're good at evading damage, then we can cast 2 of these guys, which basically means 9 cluster bombs, right? So let me just show you guys a quick demo of just how much damage you can possibly do with this. I'll go over the passives in a second, so let me just do a quick demo. So you have 2 cluster bombs, 2 hungering arrows, cluster bombs, prep, cluster bombs, 2 hungering arrow, cluster bombs, prep, cluster bombs, 2 hungering arrows, and cluster bombs. That's a lot of damage. So that's just a quick strategy on why I want to do it this way. Mainly because of the burst damage, and for Ghom, you really need that burst damage. So, of course, we're not using any slow skills, so Cull of the Weak becomes useless now. I was thinking of Night Stalker, which restores discipline, and it sounds kind of good, but after playing around with it a little, our crit rate is not as good as I would like it to be. So I prefer Sharpshooter. And another reason I prefer Sharpshooter in this case is because you can come in on the Ghom level with 100% crit. So that means all of these guys are going to crit. And that's quite a bit of damage. So I think it's very useful to use Sharpshoot in this case. So that's the skill build. I guess there's not much to say about the skill build. You guys get the idea. The idea, of course, is to do as much damage in as little time as possible. So, moving on to our strategy, right? So, Ghom spawns these poison clouds, right? And let's picture this square here in the middle of the town as the Ghom room, right? So, Ghom will spawn in the middle and will spawn here, right? So we're shooting at Ghom and this is Ghom. So we move this way to his first poison gas cloud will be here, right? And then we go all the way around and we kind of bait out the poison gas clouds this way, right? So we're going in a circle and we're kind of trying to get him to spawn his poison gas clouds as close to each other as possible, right? So we're going to be going in a circle like that, and then we're going to be stuck here, right? Because there's a poison gas cloud here. But remember at the beginning we moved forward and the poison gas cloud was here? Well, that gives you room to move along this edge. So now you have extra time to kill Ghom, right? And that's the strategy. If you can do that well, then you'll be able to kill Ghom pretty well. My success rate is decent. I would say it's about 1/3, 1/2 or so. So I think we have pretty good chances of killing Ghom. So let's do Ghom. So the bat's on. We gotta mark him, and then so the goal is to try to avoid using smokescreen because we want as much preparations as possible to get off as much cluster arrows as possible, right? So let's do this. I'll try my best to commentate, but it's gonna be kind of hard. He's angry about us killing his boss. So remember our strategy. We move up. We give ourselves some space down there. We cluster him. We cluster, prep, cluster, cluster. And we already got him down to almost half of his health, right? So this is pretty good. I didn't expect to do as much damage. I had to use a smoke screen and a pot there, unfortunately. Oh, don't get hit by these guys. They hurt a lot. So that's it. I mean, he's almost dead. We almost got him. To kind of admit to something, this is my first time recording, so I'm not even like... so remember, this is the extra space that we used here. Oh man, this is not good. This is not good. Alright, so sweet. It worked out. Our strategy worked out. So it actually works out very frequently. So remember, if you move up this way, his poison cloud will spawn here, right? And that means when you do the full circle around with poison clouds, you have room going in this direction, right? And that means you saw it right there. We pre-planned this in town. So it's not like this was a fluke. This happens every single time. And I guess if you just follow this the same way, if you have 41k DPS without sharpshoot, you should be able to do this without getting hit. Notice that our armor and our resist saved us because we didn't just immediately die in the poison clouds, right? We survived a little, which was nice. So I'm very happy that I killed it in the first try. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this guide, or not guide, but more like a video demonstration. So that's it. So just to prove that I'm not cheating, my DPS without sharpshoot was 41.6k. It was the same as before. My gears were the same as before. So this is just to prove that Ghom is definitely doable with these gears. So again, we used 4 mil on our gears, and we're looking pretty solid. So in the future, I'm thinking of making a video of me getting 5 stacks. That's what I'm planning to do. So maybe I'll get that up tomorrow. I've been getting a lot of requests on how to do certain areas, like for example Stone Fort with some ranged elites. Some people are having troubles with teleporters, so I'll try to go over all of these things as I do the elites next time. But hope you enjoyed this hope you enjoyed this Ghom kill, and this was the strategy. So remember, the key idea is cluster bombs, hungering arrow, and this preparation with hatred regeneration. And that's it. So thanks guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and see you guys.